What's going on, everybody? I hope you're all having a great day, and we're talking about some crazy stuff right now, guys. The housing market has been insane. All of you can agree with me on that. And house flipping during a housing crisis is not the safest thing to do. Institutional buyers are literally ruining the markets. And I'm going to explain to you a very interesting story that actually happened with a client of mine. And most importantly, I'm going to share with you some important points. I myself began buying houses in the foreclosure auctions, and that's how I started my business at 18 years old. I would buy, I would remodel, I would flip. That's what I would do. And right now, the longest I haven't been in the auction ever. Every month I used to go, but right now I haven't even been there once since February 4, 2020. And I'm going to share with you some stories on why, how things have been prior to it, how things are now, and how this housing market is not the safest for a house flipper and for you as a home buyer, as a house flipper, what you should look out for and why what's happening is happening. Anyways, guys, if you get any value from this video, enjoy it. Hit the like button, and most importantly, let's get started with it. Now, one thing that's important to mention that we all know and we all see is houses are flying off the shelves. They're selling quick, they're not lasting on the markets. But as a real estate agent, things are taking a shift. I have to mention that. Things are cooling down. That house that once sold in a day is on the market for 15 days. That house that was listed for $400 just had a price reduction to $380,000. That house that was for $400 is now being negotiated. So things are taking a shift. I'm feeling it and seeing it in the housing market. Now, as a flipper, as somebody who goes and buys properties to flip, we want to be very cautious on what we're buying and what we're flipping. I'm not trying to invest $200,000-$300,000 to only profit $5,000. True story, guys. You got to hear this. My client had his house listed on the market. He calls me and he goes, "Hey, how much do you think my house is worth?" To be honest, the house is worth $300,000. In this market, I told him you can list it for $330,000, $340,000, shoot your shot and try. There was no houses in the area. He ended up saying, "I'm gonna list it for $400,000," and I'm like, that's insane. Anyways, he went ahead and he listed it for $400,000. He then got an offer from a company that you know called Open Door for $375,000. Boom. He snatched up that offer. He was very happy. The next day, that same house that he was selling for $400,000 and sold it for $375,000, Open Door grabbed it, listed it on the market for $400,000. Look at the difference. They bought it for $375,000. They're selling it for $400,000. $25,000 difference. That's a margin. That's a profit margin, but it's gross profit. If they sold it for the number they're asking, they got to pay minimum 3% commission for the person bringing the buyer. So that right there is going to be 3% from $400,000. I believe Open Door does 2.5% for buyer's agents. If you guys know, confirm that, but I believe so. Easier numbers, let's do 3%. That's $12,000 right off the rip. They're going to have to pay as buyer's agent commission, not including the property taxes they have to pay at closing, their closing fees, etc. So you're talking about their $25,000 profit. If they got that number, they're going to make $13,000 now, just paying the 3% buyer's agent commission. So what I'm trying to get to is them being house flippers in this market, buying as is and selling as is. They're happy making $5,000 to $10,000. Me as a flipper, I'm investing $375,000. I'm not happy making $5,000, $10,000. But they're happy because they got 1,000 houses making $5,000, $10,000. Do the math. You got 1,000 houses making $10,000 profit per house. What's the number? Comment it below. Let's see if you guys know it. Hit the calculator. It doesn't matter. 1,000 houses making $5,000 profit a house. Throw the number. They're just trying to get the money to move. That's all they're trying to do. And those are your competition to me as a house flipper, to you as a house flipper. Guys, when I would go to the auction, this person will be friends with this person, will be friends with that person, $50,000, $50,000, $50,000. They now have $150,000 and they go bidding in the auction, not knowing what they're doing, coming from work on their lunch break, and then they win the house and then their partners are like, "Congratulations, you won." And I'm looking and I'm like, you just paid over retail for that property. You paid what I was going to pay, what I was going to sell it for after ARV, after its repair value. And remember, in the auction, you can't see the inside of a house. So they have no margin. They're taking risk. And these people don't have the experience. This was before the pandemic, what I was seeing. The markets were extremely hot. And that's what was taking me out the market as a house flipper was these guys are paying more than retail. There's no profit for me. And now post-pandemic, we're seeing big institutions that are ruining the markets, paying way more than market, and they're just trying to make 5-10 grand. Just so you know, for your experience and your knowledge, if you're flipping houses, you're hoping to make 15, 20, 30, 40 grand per house consistently. That's considered good. Of course, depending on your investment. If I'm investing $1 million, I'm not trying to make 40,000. But if I'm investing 100 to 200,000, all day I'll take 40,000. All day I'll take 15, 20,000, which are the average numbers you kind of bump into, right? So what we're seeing right now is it's brutal for those who are trying to flip houses because the market's doing what it's doing. Keep in mind, I flip houses, but I haven't been going to the foreclosure auction since February 4, 2020 because the mortgage forbearance, there hasn't been really much foreclosures. A couple hundred homes used to be there. Now it's like 3, 4, 5, and people are still paying premiums for it. And majority are going back to the banks. So as a house flipper, my advice is be able to pivot, right? I'm flipping land right now. I'm flipping commercial buildings. I'm looking at different avenues to make that flip and to still move the money. But I'm not going to be paying these premiums for houses because what happens when the next day you wake up and interest rates shot up and the market cooled down and now you're taking a loss at that house that you were only making 5-10 grand on? Not enough buffer, not enough room for error. And that's the problem with the markets right now. That's what we're seeing, and what we're seeing happening is serious. Institutional buyers are legit ruining the markets. D.R. Horton built in Conroe, Texas, 124 houses. They rented all those houses, then sold them to an institutional buyer for $32 million. They're playing the markets. Institutional investors, they're using pension funds, and they're just buying up these real estate assets. And you and me as a flipper, we're being left with a small pocket, trying to make money from that small pocket, and it's not easy. So for all of you out there who are flipping houses and are like, man, this is a brutal market and things are crazy, I understand and I'm with you. A lot of people think flipping houses is the cool thing to do, but at the end of the day, it's numbers. Numbers don't make sense. Margins aren't good enough. We're not going to flip houses. And those people who go to the auction and go buy houses with their friends and not have experience and pay premiums, I don't see them the next month. I literally point and I'm like, I won't be seeing that person next month because they're going to get screwed on this house. They're going to lose a lot of money. And then guess what's going to happen? They're going to have a bad taste in their mouth with real estate and with flipping houses. So prices have been tough. Prices have been unreal. And true story for what I've been sharing with you guys about Open Door, buying it for $375, selling it for $400, happy with a small profit margin. Institutional buyers are really making this market crazy and making it very tough to work with. So for all of you out there, whoever is buying houses to flip, be very, very cautious. Be careful, because the last thing you want to do is invest 200 grand cash in a house you plan to sell and profit 10, 20 grand on, and then the next morning the market takes a shift. Many people take hard money loans paying 7, 8, 9%, forcefully having to pay it back in 3 to 6 months. The market cools whenever that asset is in your hands, it's going to be dangerous. When I bought my investment on February 4, 2020 from the auction, you got to buy it cash. I paid $175,000 or $170,000 for it. I kid you not, people were calling me and saying, sell it at a loss and get your cash out the markets. Things are going downhill. This is when the virus just started to hit. And March, I think 13 is when things went crazy. So February 4 is when I bought it. And guess what I did? I listed it. I still sold it. I believe I profited $20-something thousand from it, which is great. But guess what the problem was? The problem was if I held it, I probably would have profited $50, $60, $70,000 right now. But to be honest, I was ready to break even, if not lose 5, 10 grand to get my money back because the market became what it became. So guys, for all of you watching this video who want to flip real estate or are flipping real estate, please be careful because we've just been going up. And this is a bubble. And who knows when it's going to pop, and who knows if it's going to crash heavy or not. But you just got to be careful, and you just got to understand that the market is all about timing. You get in it too soon, you benefit, you run. You get in it too late, you get hit, and that's not good. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you got any value from it, if you appreciate what I put out there, hit the like button, and most importantly, subscribe. I upload 3 times every week, and I'd love to see you guys in every single video. For right now, be safe, flip real estate, but make sure it's a good deal and have enough margin for error. You don't want to get stuck with a bad asset, and make sure your investments are safe investments. Anyways, guys, I'll see you all later, and I'm out.